You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Revolutionary Radio Project with your host, Rob Skiba.
All I'm offering is the truth.
Hello and welcome to the Revolutionary Radio Project. I'm your host, Rob Skiba, and I thought I would do another series on crypto. And we did Crypto 101, sort of the basics of crypto and staking with Robbie Davidson and Paul Lindbergh a while back. And now I'm going to bring my friend and co-host for the Quest for Truth series that we're doing here on TFR, Zen Garcia, to talk some more. We'll do sort of a Crypto 101 Part 2, I guess, and get sort of perhaps a different take on some of it, and learn some more about some other things we didn't discuss in the previous broadcast. So excited to get started here. Zen, are you there, sir?
I am, brother, and thanks for inviting me, and I think this is an important topic to cover. It seems like when we did the show with the group of, alternative truth leaders, that you and I were the only ones that were even positive on cryptocurrency. And it's unfortunate that the Christian community as a whole associates it with the, mark of the beast technology when it's just alternative currency. And I really think that it's the movement towards the future, just like the internet, back in the 90s, and that these platforms are going to be integrated into everything with regard to people buying and selling, even though later the AI technology and all that, that the Antichrist controls some of that with whatever, and I think it's going to be an incorporation of technology into human consciousness to some degree, but a lot of people do look at cryptocurrency as being an aspect of that.
Yeah, in the broadcast that I did with Robbie Davidson and Paul Lindbergh, we were talking about the mark of the beast and how, you may remember this also back in the late 80s, right? We had, 1988, there were 88 reasons why Christ will return in 1988, and the reason for that is they were saying, well, it's 40 years since 1948, so see, this generation shall not pass away, so it's got to be this year. This is it, right? And around that same time, we had barcodes and stuff coming out. Time magazine had an article saying that China could field a 200 million man army. So all the teachers of eschatology at that time were like, oh man, look, China's the locusts that come up out of the bottomless pit, right? 200 million man army right there. We got the barcode, and two skinny lines represent 6, and see, every barcode has two skinny lines on the outside and two skinny lines on the inside, so 666 with a modifier in the middle. So see, 666 barcode's the mark of the beast, and there's all this hype back in 88, and I remember getting kind of wrapped up in it as well, and there were all kinds of stellar alignments happening, and the planets are lining up, and this, that, the other thing, and this is it. Of course, that was 1988, and here we are in 2021. We're all still here. No rapture happened, and none of that. I think that there's a tendency to, if you go back to the first century, everybody believed that they were in the last days too. So
right.
I think Revelation's written in such a way that there's a tendency for every generation to think that this is it, and perhaps that's for good reason. It keeps you vigilant, keeps you alert to the signs of the times, what's happening, and looking, and who's the Antichrist? It must be a Caesar, right? Oh, then, well, it wasn't the Caesars after that. It must be the Pope. Yeah, the Pope. Yeah. No. Now it's got to be a U.S. president. I do believe that the events of Revelation have yet to happen. I'm not a preterist or historist,
Right.
Well, are they happening in our day, or are they going to happen before we die? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I think it's important to not just assume everything that new that comes along has to be the mark of the beast. I think it's wise to be alert and cautious. But if anybody's listening to this right now, just look around you. I guarantee you there's something right next to you that has a barcode on it. So you got a 666 barcode sitting right next to you. You probably got debit cards in your pocket. So cashless society,
Right.
One world cashless society. Look, as soon as Visa came out, everybody was on a one world cashless society. And then they came out with a chip on the debit card. Oh, see, it's the chip on the debit card. Is it going to be a microchip that's going to be inserted in our hand or our forehead? Look, I think when it comes to the mark of the beast, there is a beast system, and we're all unfortunately immersed in it. And yes, there is a call to come out of Babylon, but what does that look like, and how exactly do we do that when it comes to the specific topic? I mean, if you want to talk about evil in currency, just look on the back of the dollar bill. So
Right.
you're already walking around carrying an evil talisman in your pocket. They call it currency because we circulate it as a current. We're circulating evil talisman, and there's nothing less secure in this world right now probably than our current fiat money. So when it comes to the mark of the beast, I think that that there's a good case to be made for when we read in the Torah that keeping the Sabbath and the feast, that is a sign that's to be on your forehead and with your right hand. That there's a scriptural mark of Yahuwah that is in place, and that there's a counterfeit to that. So some would say that worshiping on Sunday instead of the Sabbath is the mark of the beast. When I drove down from Massachusetts to Texas, I saw the biggest billboard I've ever seen in my life on the border of Arkansas. And this huge billboard said, Saturday is the true Sabbath, Sunday is the mark of the beast. It was like this huge billboard. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to drive fast through this place. So is the mark of the beast following the beast system as opposed to Yahuwah's system? Yes. Does the mark of the beast deal with buying and selling? Yes, but there's something else that it deals with that few people seem to want to acknowledge, and it's that when people have it, they beg for death, but death flees from them. Which to me says, well, there's something more to it. A barcode's not going to give you immortality. A microchip, well, unless it rewrites your DNA, is not going to do that. So there seems to be, and I became convinced of this about 10 years ago, a genetic component to all of this. And so now with the vaccines that come out and these nanotechnology that they want to put in these vaccines, that, as I spoke at your conference last year, that is much more in line with the mark of the beast as far as I'm concerned. And
Right.
Tom Horn, in his book Pandemonium's Engine, it was a collaborative work with several authors that contributed to it. He put forward the idea, this is almost 10 years now, of a Hegelian-style dialectic where the government creates a pandemic that, everybody needs to get this magical shot. And by the way, if you do, it's going to cure you of cancer. It's going to do all these wonderful things for you. It's going to be amazing. But side effects may include, counterfeit immortality, being cast alive into the lake of fire, And if you don't take the vaccine, then you get quarantined. And if you get quarantined, guess what you can't do? You can't buy and sell. So we have salvation through the blood of Yeshua. I believe that the anti-Yeshua, the Antichrist, has a counterfeit salvation, a counterfeit immortality that also involves his blood. So that's the horse that I have in this race. That's what I have my eye out for right now is in terms of what a mark of the beast might be. Crypto doesn't fit any of that in my mind. What about you? When I just gave you a long explanation of my understanding of the mark of the beast, what's your understanding of the mark of the beast, and why do you not, or do you think that crypto will or will not play a part in it?
Well, I agree with you that I think it's going to be a merger of technology and also, like a cyber link that they want to try to make humans into cyborg, and then we see even in all the Hollywood films about uploading consciousness so that people can take bodies and take on a new body and continue to escape death and escape judgment in that manner. And if they're just going to die, the real rich people that can afford to do the upload to a new body and to a new consciousness, have their consciousness shifted into a different form, that they would be able to do that kind of stuff. And even Elon Musk, he now talks about all the time about how it once was our computers and now it's our cell phones, and that cell phones are an extensions, and people can't live without them now. And the millennials, that generation, they're always on their phones. They are always on connected to the web, and so it would be easy to incorporate or to maybe sell to them, well, just get this chip, put it in your brain, and or how they try to do with the Google glasses and all that. But they want to incorporate that kind of technology and link it directly into the body, into biochemistry, and to have all that merged together. And so I think that, in my opinion, will be when in some manner they forge that technology together with human consciousness and the ability to somehow Neuralink it and upload it and to pass it on in that manner, and that not being able to die in that time could be associated to that, and them wanting to escape judgment. Certainly I believe the elites have they want to not be able to have to deal with judgment, especially if they know that they're evil to the core, which I'm pretty sure that being of their father the devil, that the blood oaths and the allegiance and the things that they do, they have to know that they're involved with evil. So but the other things with regard to the same thing with cryptocurrency, I believe it's just an extension, a movement towards the future, and that because the dollar can be, because it's like a massive Ponzi scheme that the Federal Reserve and those that are in control of the Federal Reserve, that they're able to utilize this giant Ponzi scheme, which is just magic. They're creating money out of thin air. It's not even backed by anything, and doesn't have a finite as far as number of dollars that can be put into circulation for them to just continue to pump the printing presses and continue to create money out of nothingness, and then just flood it out to the world. Not only does it devalue the current currency that is out there, but they could do it indefinitely. I mean, who's to stop them? And so I think that with what has come out with Bitcoin and the consensus, and also the fact that it's capped, and that other cryptocurrencies also recognize the power of having that as a store of value, and that the ability to, because with MoneyGram and Western Union sending money to your family in some other country, not only is that costly, but it takes time. And they have to go, if they're out in the jungle or wherever, they have to go into town and collect that money and present photo ID and all that. Whereas sending crypto can be anonymous or mostly anonymous, certainly outside of the government regulation on everything. On all transactions, there are privacy tokens, whatever, if you wanted to remain anonymous. But I saw even that somebody had sent like $300 million in Bitcoin, and it cost them like 3 cents or something of that nature. I mean, just the fees, and it was pretty much instantaneous. I mean, even though Bitcoin does take a little bit longer, but the fees are much better than MoneyGram or Western Union. So, and if you ever needed to carry or to keep a large amount of money, you could just have it in a digital wallet, even if because I'm also a little concerned with if people do keep it in Treasure or on a ledger, that people, others that recognize that if they were to steal that or to try to force you to give up your password. So I think people need to be diversified as well too, and that you might want to spread it out on, like MetaMask and TronLink and different electronic wallets that are connected to browsers in which you can use privacy keys or even just password to get access to once you leave the country and go to a different place if that's what you need to do. But that kind of thing can be done, and you don't have to carry 15 gold coins in your pocket. Or I did see something of interest just yesterday too. The Marcus, this guy that does The Prophet on CNBC, he was talking about the diamond industry, and there's a lot of Jewish people involved in the diamond trade. And they said that one of the reasons why is because during the Holocaust and during their being banished out of different countries and their wealth stolen from them, that often they could, as long as they could pilfer and keep and preserve one diamond of very exquisite nature, that wherever they got to, they would be able to rebuild and to take care of their families and to recreate their businesses. And that was, one of the reasons why a lot of the Jewish people in the times of persecution, they were involved in the diamond trade because they knew that, if they could only hold one thing and they were able to sneak that in to wherever they were going or wherever they were being moved, that they would be able to recreate their livelihoods. So I thought that was interesting, and it kind of reminded me even of this day and age, if people ever have to run and leave the country or get to another place, I mean, you're not going to be able to take 100 ounces of silver with you, or 10, even sliding through the with gold coins, it's gonna be difficult, and especially if regulations are tightened and they're actually searching and looking for that kind of thing. So,
you hit on a lot of really good points there. In the beginning, talking about sort of the creation of a hive mind, a Borg collective. That's very much in line with my vision of what I see the mark of the beast being. And if people just really want to see absolute proof of this in the works, just go to 2045.com, 2045.com, and read about the 2045 Strategic Social Initiative. Watch their videos, read their articles. This is what the scientists, quote unquote, of the world have created, sort of a consortium where they get together and brainstorm, and they've created milestones for like every 5 or 10 years or so, what they want to achieve, and so far they're pretty much right on target. If you go back and look at when they started and where we are today and what they've been able to accomplish so far, they're pretty much right on target, and their own stated objective. In fact, this was on Time Magazine. There was a Time Magazine front cover that said 2045, the year man becomes immortal, ? It had a dude with a plug in the back of his head. That this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a Borg collective, a hive mind that would be very much the beast system, that you're not buying or selling, you're not doing anything if you're not part of the collective. You will be assimilated. It's very much like the Borg. And so that's where I see the ultimate mark of the beast going, because it's a control system. They'd have to be able to control you, to manipulate you. I don't see that with barcodes. I don't see that with a microchip. I don't see that with Bitcoin, or Visa, or any of the usual suspects. I just don't see that. They
want to track and trace you from the moment that you're born into the world to the moment that you leave.
It's the Matrix. I mean,
the Matrix.
They want to put you in a pod,
Exactly.
and turn you into, as Morpheus said, a copper top. You're the battery for the beast. That's what it's going to be in my mind. You talked about Ponzi scheme. This is what I don't understand. It's like I watch these financial advisors and stuff, and they constantly are saying that Bitcoin and crypto is a Ponzi scheme, and staking and all that stuff that's a Ponzi scheme. I'm like, our own system is a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
Our fiat money printed off of, printed from the printed press with debt attached to it. If anything's a scam, it's our current monetary system.
Absolutely.
Which, seems to me why they want to poo-poo the alternative, because the alternative, especially like when we're talking like Bitcoin and things of that nature, is it puts the control in the people's hands.
Exactly.
Instead of the government or the central banks.
Right. Right. And they are fearful of that because, not only can they not stop Bitcoin, but, again, it is an alternative currency that has more use case scenario and better as far as benefits for those that use it than the dollars and the fiat, which again, you can't go to the bank and even have a large stash of cash sitting in it and get paid any kind of interest on it now. And this year there's been a huge blow up of coins that can be staked that work like certificates of deposit or even like savings bonds, and that pay interest out over time. And so that's a great benefit for having cryptocurrency and holding it, and even holding it in certain wallets or certain exchanges that you do make and get paid interest, and sometimes high degrees and high levels of interest depending on what platforms you use.
Yeah, that's interesting too, is, a lot of people want to advocate for gold and silver, which look, first of all, let me just say, neither Zen nor I are financial advisors. We are not licensed in any way to give you financial advice. I should have said this at the top of the show. We are not in any way licensed to give you financial advice. So, this is just two guys sharing their opinions on, these matters. But, I'm of the opinion that you should diversify as much as possible. Yes, if you can afford to get land, yes. If you can stock up and get food, yes. If you can get gold and silver, yes. If you can get crypto, yes. And even have some money in the bank. I think you should have stuff spread out and under your pillow. Have as many, diversify as much as you can would be my advice. But when it comes to gold and silver, it's a good way to store monetary value. Let's say, right now gold is worth $1,846.05, and silver's worth $25.28, according to moneymetals.com. So that's the equivalent in gold and silver of cash, right? So whatever the money's doing, that's going to be preserved, if you will, in gold and silver. But I mean, silver's been at like $25-ish for seems like the better part of a decade now, and gold's gone up a bit. It was about 10 years ago, it was like $1,200, so it's gone up, maybe $600 or so. But crypto, I mean, man, let me just check real quick. Bitcoin's worth $36,453.60 right now. $36,000. Okay, 3 years ago, gold was somewhere between, I would say, probably maybe $1,500 or $1,600, and now it's $1,800. Okay, so what? It went up $200. 3 years ago, Bitcoin was worth $1,000, and now it's up $36,000. So you're not going to get a better return on investment if you're looking to store value. You can keep money in the bank, but what are you getting in interest? Next to nothing, and they even give you penalties for trying to withdraw it. Like I made a few withdrawals from my savings account, and they're like, okay, you can't do any more without getting a fee. It's like, what? You're going to charge me and some banks even charge you
my own money
to put your money in the bank. It's
right, I know, it's crazy.
You get a monthly fee for keeping your money in the bank, and then if you move it or withdraw, they're charging you. So you're getting nothing in the bank, right? Gold and silver, as far as increase, putting it in there, it just sort of goes with the economy, and that's rigged too. Gold and silver prices are totally rigged.
Yes, they're being manipulated for sure.
But you're definitely not getting an increase, substantial increase anyway, with gold and silver. The best you can hope for is it's going to preserve whatever you have in metal. Whatever you have today, it's going to preserve it in metal. Versus something like crypto, where the value goes through the roof. And we got about 2 minutes before the break, but can you explain why it is that crypto goes up in value so much? Like, let's just take Bitcoin, for example. Why is it that a few years ago it was only worth $1,000, and before that it was cheaper, and now it's worth $36,000, and it capped out just recently at almost $42,000? So why is that? Why does it increase so much?
Well, previously, it was being used for people that were trying to take advantage and use Silk Road on the dark web, and people that were savvy computer and also really just computer geeks that were into gaming, and it was part of that whole gaming industry and everything. And the whole infrastructure for buying and selling and purchasing Bitcoin had not yet even been established. And so what ended up happening is that this place called Mt. Gox, which was largely a Magic the Gathering trading card place, they started to offer and Bitcoins, and then they found that there was a great demand, and they started getting orders for millions of dollars, and they did not have the privacy or the security to handle all that money, all that wealth, and so they ended up getting hacked, and a lot of those hackers stole a lot of money and a lot of Bitcoin, and then that whole platform got shut down.
Yeah, we're going to break, and we'll come back and talk some more when we get back from break. Stay by. And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I'm your host, Rob Skiba. I'm talking with my guest, Zen Garcia. We're talking about cryptocurrency, sort of Crypto 101 Part 2. And Zen, right before the break, you were talking about the early days of Bitcoin and the gaming community and stuff like that. So why don't you pick up where you left off there?
Sure. And so speaking about Mt. Gox and how this was really just like a Magic the Gathering and other cards, Pokemon, that kind of stuff, where people would buy and sell and trade that kind of stuff. But then Bitcoin became all the rage, and there was a lot of people that were wanting to buy it. And at that time, things were, Bitcoin was moving up and down in dollars, and then dozens of dollars, and then hundreds of dollars. And, by the time other platforms came into play, and other security measures and other companies became exchanges where people could actually purchase Bitcoin. These were the early adopters, but it was then opened up to a larger space than just those that were crypto savvy, that were setting up mining platforms to kind of do the whole thing of the consensus and doing the computations to support the Bitcoin network. And it started to become profitable for people, and then traders became involved. And so the people that were interested and the populations that began to take interest in Bitcoin kept growing and growing, and then other projects came on board like Ethereum, and then many others. And when all that happened, people began to really think that there was a use case for not only blockchain but cryptocurrencies, and then everybody wanted to create some kind of a project that was connected to blockchain. And they realized that this was a growing technology which, like the internet in the 90s, had not yet been defined, and also the value of what this technology would be in the future was still an uncertainty. And so, and I remember, I was day trading stocks back then in the 90s, and some of the internet stocks, the way that they, especially with initial public offerings, I would skip school to stay home to trade some of these stocks because you really had to buy them initially, and then they would run up, and if you didn't unload them, then you would lose that profit. And so a lot of crypto back at that time, it was a wild west just like that. But now we have come to the place where the space has matured and the infrastructure has been established and is now acknowledged as being part of the future. And so there's institutional money flooding into the market where there had not been previously. And even though there were a lot of business minded individuals that recognized that there could be potential with Bitcoin, even going back a few years to the last run up in 2017, where Bitcoin went to $19,900 a coin, and then we had that drop and then a bear market for a couple of years after that. There was no way for a lot of that big money and the bigger players to really get in and they have to do transactions through over-the-counter exchanges like Gemini and Kraken and others. Those the people that have connections with whales and others that have a large amount of Bitcoin from the early days, so that they don't run the prices up in great degree, or that they have to purchase on the open exchanges and influence the price so that it costs them a lot to make their purchases. And so those kind of things are now set up. We have the Grayscale Trust Fund, and then you have all these other platforms that are opening up so that anybody can buy Bitcoin. Now, Cash App and Square and PayPal, that whereas there was only Coinbase previously, now there's all these other and other sites, a lot of different exchanges, the smaller exchanges that allow people to purchase crypto with credit cards, debit cards. And so the ability to purchase cryptocurrency and to hold it and to trade it is much more widely disseminated and easier to navigate and maneuver. And we'll talk about some of these things because I know there's a lot of people that are interested and want to get into this platform, but don't know where to begin, don't understand the difference between Coinbase and an exchange, or the different wallets and why you might want to have different wallets for different coins. And so we'll talk about all of that as well. But the thing about it is, right now, the reason we're having a huge run up, like it was December 16th, 2020, that I did the first show where I decided that I'm going to start doing a regular, at least once every other week or once a month show on cryptocurrency, because I had done probably 5 or 6 shows up until that time. But with you and I, our focus is more on scripture and the serving the kingdom and things of a spiritual nature. And so I never wanted to do these kind of financial shows or to talk about or to put focus on those kind of things. But I feel like that, just like with the whole theme of teach a man to fish, that with this space and with so many, as far as Christians and now a lot of people losing their jobs and not having any income and really being concerned about feeding themselves and their others, that there's a potential with cryptocurrency really to double your money in even one day on certain tokens, and that the prices because of us having gone through a 3-year bear market and now just coming out of that and prices starting to move upwards and a flood of money entering into the market, that many of these coins are still relatively cheap, and that people can purchase, even if they don't have a lot of money, that they can buy in even $10-20 a month, and if they put it in the right place, they could benefit greatly. Like I just saw even a video, and I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but it was kind of funny. It was about this woman who was a painter, and she had talked about, and people can look this up for themselves, the video is called "I'm Accidentally Bitcoin Rich, What Now?" And she was hired in 2013 by this guy to paint an image of a Bitcoin, and he paid her $50 in Bitcoin back in 2013.
Wow.
And she forgot all about that, and then she realized that, you know, that she had done that, and it came to, now that all this Bitcoin talk and all the mainstream's talking about it and how the value of it has increased exponentially, she realized that she had that $50 in Bitcoin from way back then. And so she's very wealthy now just because of that one purchase and having that $50 in Bitcoin back then, which translates to, I don't even know, I'd have to look up the chart, but
let me just I can do the math. Well, let's just say $50 times 40,000 ish. That's what it is now. $2 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. You touched on several things in what you just said there. Let me back up to what we talked about in the previous segment about easy store of value. I have a friend that moved, I think she moved to Panama, and she was real big into silver and gold, right? Getting silver and gold. And more so silver because that's a lot more tradable, Gold is more long-term storage. Silver is more day-to-day transaction. And anyway, she needed to get back to the United States, and it was quite the process, both going and coming back with that much metals, and especially if you're traveling through difficult areas, it's like the old days, the wagon train, right? You get your crate full of silver and gold. You're a target, massive target, the kind of security and everything you need,
right?
And it's heavy. That stuff's just heavy, silver and gold. So being able to store whatever amount of money you have, whatever your quote-unquote wealth may be, it's certainly the easiest way to store a vast amount of wealth. Because, that woman right there,
absolutely,
she could have 50 quote-unquote Bitcoins, which are worth $2 million, but that fits on a secure thumb drive.
Right, exactly.
It's like, you imagine carrying $2 million worth of silver around or having to store that somewhere. So That's number one. Number two, the ease of transaction and the fact that it gets us off of the central banking system. When I was in Kenya, I've told this story before, but I was a missionary in Kenya, and we were at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, way out in the middle of nowhere, right, working with Maasai tribes. And we had somebody had put the Jesus movie onto an iPod, and we had a portable projector, and we had strung up a bed sheet on the side of a mud hut, and we were showing the Jesus film to Maasai warriors, off an iPod with a video projector in the middle of nowhere, right? And all of a sudden, a cell phone goes off. We hear the cell phone go off, and of course, all of us Americans, we're all like, "What?" We're checking our pockets because we're just, hardwired for that, right?
Right.
In the States, we're glued to our phones, and so immediately we're all checking our pockets. Of course, we're in the middle of nowhere, nowhere. And then I look over and I see this Maasai warrior pull back his robe, and right next to his machete, he grabs his cell phone and goes walking off into the darkness. I'm like, what? Like, that didn't make any sense to me. But then when I thought about it, it actually makes a lot of sense because, they don't have the infrastructure to run telephone lines, way out in the savannah, way out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But they can set up some cell phone towers out there. So, Here we are working with Maasai warriors with robes and machetes and mud huts in the middle of nowhere, but they have a cell phone. Well, I mean, if they have a cell phone and they have any ability to access the internet, they can do massive transactions with crypto that they would never be able to do with anything else.
Right.
So,
right.
And that's what intrigued me when I first started looking into this. Is wow. I mean, now even that guy or anybody that has a cell phone that can tap into the internet has the ability to do any kind of transaction. To receive money from other people. If you want to just donate directly to them, you can do that. Boom. You don't have to go through a bank or anything like that. Now, of course, if they want to use whatever their currency is in country, then they'd have to go through some sort of exchange where they. But what's interesting now, though, this was more of an issue just a few years ago, where if you had let's say Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, you could buy that and it would increase in value and whatnot. But if you wanted to use it to buy anything, you had to convert it back to U.S. dollars.
Right.
But not so much anymore. More and more retailers are now accepting crypto, especially Bitcoin. So, I mean, you can buy airplane tickets, you can buy coffee at Starbucks, you can, buy stuff at Walmart or whatever. So now that more and more retail outlets are accepting crypto, this just opens up a whole other world to people that they didn't have available to them before.
Yes. Yeah, and especially in other countries, that infrastructure is being developed much more than it is here. Even like with, the supporting electric cars and getting off of fossil fuels, that infrastructure is being developed in great capacity in many other nations, more so than here in America. We're still lagging behind. But also with, I've read stories about how people in some of these third world nations, many of them that are also crypto savvy, they make entire livelihoods, like their whole career is just doing what are called airdrops. And airdrops are where these new cryptocurrency tokens and projects, they come online, and then if you follow them on Telegram, if you follow them on Twitter, retweet their pinned post, maybe share something on Facebook or other platforms, they will give you then a free portion of the new cryptocurrency, because it doesn't cost them anything to do that. And it's basically giving them free advertising. And so some of these guys are literally making a livelihood and making up to $20,000-$30,000 doing this, just following all these free airdrops and signing up for them over the course of a whole year. And some of those platforms that become successful, when they sell their tokens, they're making enough money to live, and that's all they do. And so there's a lot of that going on. And so for people though that don't have money, there are others that don't have money either, but are taking advantage of, like even Coinbase. And this is one of the things that I tell new members and those that are signing up and joining our crypto group that we just started, that if you just sign up on Coinbase, you can get access to $160 in free cryptocurrency. And then if you tell your family members, just your family members or your children, your loved ones, about it, and they sign up too, you can all reap the benefit of just getting that cryptocurrency. And I've been a member of Coinbase for a very long time, and the free tokens that they've given out to me and being able to access them, many years back when the prices were very low, a lot of that has turned out to be $200, $300, $400 now in value. And so that kind of stuff increases over time as well.
Well, yeah, and
then
I'm sorry, that's something I want people to understand too, and I'll put a link in the description below, so maybe we can talk a little bit more about things like what is the blockchain and what is Coinbase and stuff like that. But Coinbase.com is a website where you can go to get crypto. And like Zen said, they offer quite a bit of free Bitcoin just for signing up and for watching video and stuff like that. Now it's not a lot, but it's more. Look, okay, $10, that could get you a meal. Right now, you can get $10 worth of free Bitcoin just by using the link below. Sign up, use the link below in the description, and if you use that link to buy or sell a minimum of $100 worth of crypto, you and I both get $10 of free Bitcoin. So I get $10, you get $10 for a $100 transaction. But then if you go and watch, I believe you just watch some of their training videos, right? They give you some more.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot. There's a section on Coinbase that is for earning free cryptocurrencies, and you can click on that, and they usually have a number of different cryptocurrencies that right now you can earn just by watching a few videos. You can from $6 to $50, depending on if you send out invitations to others, and then they follow your link, you will also get $10 and they'll get $10. And so there's a lot of incentive, and again, it's just a matter of teaching people about what's available out there, and who wouldn't want to just get free money. It's always bizarre to me when I tell people about it and they don't take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. If I was like, hey, I'll give you $10 to watch this video, who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is something else that a lot of people who are new to this don't understand, because we think in terms of a coin in U.S. dollar currency. A coin, well, that's a quarter. That's just one coin. It's a 25-cent piece, right? When we say Bitcoin, it's not just a thing that you have to buy one whole Bitcoin for $36,377.15 right now. That's what it's worth right now. You can buy a minuscule fraction, $10 worth of Bitcoin if you want to, right? So you don't have to buy an entire Bitcoin. You can buy fractions of a Bitcoin. But even those fractions, the value goes up with the overall value of the coin, right? So whatever $10 worth of Bitcoin is today, a year from now, it may be worth a lot more than $10. That $10.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Yeah, and also currently there are things like the Fold card. It's an application that allows you to you can download their app on your phone, and you can once daily spin for free Bitcoin Satoshis. And even though it's not a lot, you have a chance to win 1 million Satoshis, which would be a lot, or even 10,000 Satoshis, which I've won like 4 or 5 times on the platform. But you can spin daily, and then if you spin for 7 days, you get 1,000 free Bitcoin Satoshi, and you don't have to do anything but remember to hit the button once a day. You don't have to buy anything, and it adds up over time. And then another thing with the Fold app and the Fold card is they sell gift cards. And so I use a lot on Amazon anyways, because I don't like to go shopping in stores. I'd rather have all that stuff delivered to me so I can work at home. And so you can buy an Amazon gift card off of their website. They give you 25% of that in free Bitcoin, and then you use that gift card when you actually go to the Amazon site. And so, that's another way to get free Bitcoin. There's another website called Lolly that pays you, in Bitcoin for a percentage of whatever you spend at different stores, just like Rakuten. You can either get cash back or free Bitcoin just by doing your online purchases. Anyways, you just hit a button before you finalize that purchase, and then you get a percentage cash back from either one of those sites. And so there's things like that you can do that are freely available to you. I use a web search engine called Presearch that pays you in crypto for searching, instead of using Google or or Bing or any of these others, if you use pre-search and just sign up with them, you'll get free crypto for having done that, and it adds up over time as well. Or using the Brave browser, which is an alternative to Chrome or all the other ones that are out there. Using the Brave browser, you get paid to do all of your searching and browsing. You get a BAT token, and so why not get paid? And it has a VPN. It keeps you anonymous. It protects you, and so why not use Brave instead of Chrome? And so simple things like that add up since you're doing it anyways. Even like with Theta and Library, watching videos, you get paid in crypto. Or if you're a content creator, you get paid in crypto to create content for those particular portals as well. So a lot of very interesting things going on out there.
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes before we go to break. I want to talk about all those things in the second half of the show, because a few of those I was aware of, but there's a lot of what you just said. I'm going, wow, I'm making notes for myself. So, look, this isn't about we're not about trying to get rich quick. That's not what we're talking about here. Look, times are tough. I mean, let's just face it. Right. Especially with the whole year of businesses locked down and things like that. People are struggling right now. All we're trying to do is show you, and this in the panel discussion that we were on was the same thing. We're just trying to show you how to store what you have, earn more with what you have, and thus be able to do more. I mean, let's face it.
Right.
Do you want to eat? Money. It's going to take money to eat.
Exactly.
You want to live in a house? Rent and mortgages, property tax cost money. You want to come online and troll us? Internet, you got to pay for that.
Yes.
Exactly. We're giving you a free platform here on YouTube, or we've been given a free platform here on YouTube to talk, and you guys can troll us all day long and bash us all day long, but you're paying internet fees to do that. You want to drive somewhere? Gas costs money. You want to buy land and raise sheep? Great. Money.
Yeah.
Everything that you were going to want to do. You want to support missionaries? Money. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, it's not like we're all about money here, but the fact is, everything you want to do,
everything costs. Yes.
You want to buy a Bible? Guess what? Money.
Right.
Yeah, you can get the Gideon Bibles for free in the hotel, but guess what? Somebody had to pay for those.
Yes.
Nothing's free. Everything costs money, and all we're trying to do is show you how to be smart with what you have.
Exactly.
And maybe even increase what you have, especially if you don't have much.
Right.
Which is something I definitely want to spend the next hour talking about in the second half of the broadcast, because I want to do the same thing. It's like, okay, how do we protect what we have, and how do we increase what we have so that we can do more with what we have? I mean, that's the
maximize your potential.
Yeah, exactly. Maximize your potential. That's a good way to put it. So we got about a minute before the break. So when we come back, I want to talk about all of the other stuff. Oh, and the other thing about, why it's increasing in value that we really didn't mention is that there's a limited supply.
Yes.
And because of that, the more people are buying it, the less we have of the supply and the more we have of the demand. So naturally the price goes up. So as opposed to fiat currency, the more they print up, the less it's worth.
Exactly.
So, all right, so that's a good point to end on here. We are going to break, and we'll come back in the second half, and we'll talk about all kinds of cool stuff. Here we go. And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and we are in the second hour of the broadcast. I'm talking with my guest, Zen Garcia, and we're discussing cryptocurrency and how to store what you have, how to increase what you have so that you can do more. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And right before the break, we're talking about why Bitcoin is increasing in value. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, when it comes to supply and demand, how many Bitcoin are there in existence? Is it because people are buying it up more and more that we are seeing the price increase, or what's your take on that?
Yes. Well, there is a finite supply. When the whole blockchain for Bitcoin was created and all the people that began to use it through consensus, that there is set in the smart contract and, in the code that after 21 million, there would be no more new Bitcoin mined or available through mining.
So there's only
And so
21 million in
it locks it
existence.
up so that.
So there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, and from what I understand, somewhere between 5 and 10 million of that is probably lost or missing because people lost their key codes and whatever, so they can't get it. And that's important to remember if you're going to set up like a Coinbase account or anything, some kind of online digital wallet or use a ledger or whatever, is they have all these passcodes and keywords and things that you have to know and remember or print off and have somewhere to secure to access it. So if you lose those things, that's like losing your bank account and your ID card. You can't just walk into a bank and say, "Hey, I got $10,000 in the bank. Okay, let me see your ID card. Oh, I don't have it. What's your account number? Oh, I don't know." Well, guess what? You're not going to get your money out of the bank. So, as I understand it, there's quite a number of Bitcoin that fall into that category, especially from the early days when people, it was worth 10 cents or whatever. People don't take it seriously, and so there's a lot of it that is missing and will never be recovered. So that being the case, there's a finite supply somewhere between 15 and 21 million that will ever exist.
Right. And I just heard a story about a guy that has $200 million now on some hard drive or hardware that is a privacy wallet, and he can't remember his password, but the way that this one was set up, that you only get 10 tries, and then if you don't get access to it, it permanently locks up and is then no longer accessible. And so he's freaking out. He's tried 8 passwords, and he doesn't know what to do, and is afraid because he has all that locked up. And then I heard another story just recently as well about an individual that threw away a hard drive, and he said that he has in pricing terms now, multi-million dollars of Bitcoin on it, and even offered I think like 5 million or 50 million, something crazy, for anybody that could find it in the landfill, that he would pay them a bounty for getting access to this lost hard drive. But yeah, there is a lot of that has happened, and so many Bitcoin have disappeared from the very early days. But there will be a 21 million finite. That's it. No more cryptocurrency. And so right now, the current rate of mining, there's 900 Bitcoins coming on and made available as new supply. And I think this is every week or every month. But the demand for Bitcoin is increasing just from institutional money, like Grayscale and even PayPal, Square, CoinApp, and Coinbase, that a lot of people are buying through these particular portals. But then there's huge, again, institutional money that is coming online from people that are wanting to use these platforms that are now available to get access to Bitcoin. And so because there's not enough supply, the price of Bitcoin has run up. An individual named Michael Saylor, who was very wise, he decided back when Bitcoin was $9,000 a coin, that instead of holding dollars, which were losing value, he decided to put his company and his own wealth, which was $500 million of his company's money, into Bitcoin. He put $300 million of his own money into Bitcoin and started buying Bitcoin when it was $9,000 a coin. And immediately, he made a huge run up.
Yeah, it's 3 times the value.
Yeah, and he did that 2 more times, where he even took out loans, $450 million more in loans and took up, his friends and others that were interested in joining them for this investment, and the company's name MicroStrategy. And so they raised a lot of money and did two more huge purchases. They did one at 19,000 and another one at, I think, like 24,000. But they're positive from all of those purchases. And so since that time, and since his story went public, as far as, like CNBC interviewed him and other companies, there have been other, like Mass Mutual, which is an insurance company in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They put $100 million into Bitcoin, and other companies are also beginning to follow suit. He even had a talk with Elon Musk, who has a huge amount of cash sitting on the sidelines that is just bleeding out and losing its value, and he told him about how to do it. And so there might be a possibility that Elon Musk, does the same. And these companies, even if they put 1 to 5% of their wealth into Bitcoin, it's going to not only drive up the price of cryptocurrencies, but they will see the potential, and I think that this will be something that may eventually become a staple for all companies, to have, like, holding 1 to 5% in gold or precious metals, that they're going to open themselves to this platform. And right now, the entire cryptocurrency market is only a $1 trillion market. I think earlier, it's $1,035 million market, which gold in and itself is $17 trillion market. And so, it has a huge potential to run up. And really, when it comes to, a metaphor, as far as running a race, everybody is still driving to the race and maybe have gotten out of their cars, they're putting on their shoes, and they're all warming up, that the race hasn't even started. And we're really all considered the earlier adopters, even those that, as far as those that were in when Bitcoin was $1 or up to $1,000 or whatever. Those were certainly the early adopters, but the infrastructure for utilizing crypto and the platform as an investment opportunity has only been really established now that it's safe and secure and available to investors worldwide. And so I think now we are at the beginning stages of what is going to be something huge, like back in the early 90s when America Online came out, and everybody was on dial-up modems, that how much room and how much growth, how much potential, and nobody knew how to really evaluate the internet stocks, but those people that did invest in the technology, we're like being able to get into Apple, even all the early, as far as stocks, all the big companies at pennies on the dollar. We're like at that stage right now, and that really only a few have increased in value to a large degree, and things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which Ethereum ran up to 1,400 just earlier today. And but most other cryptocurrencies are still pennies on the dollar, very, very, very cheap. And a lot of them you can buy for, 1 or 2 cents a token. And so there's a lot of opportunity, and for people, if they get involved now, I think it will greatly benefit them in the long run, without a doubt.
So with these big companies, that must be why it's been going up, is everybody decided, hey, let's jump in. And so that created, they're buying more, so there's less supply and more demand. But
Yes.
with a year of people being unemployed and times being tough, anybody that had anything in there, let's say they got in, like 3 years ago when it was like $1,000, and it's now worth $36,000. Well, all of a sudden now it's like, look, honey, we got to pay our mortgage, we got to pay this, we got to pay that. We've been out of work for. So, do you think it's still going to keep going up, or do you think there's going to be a lot of people withdrawing because they have to, and dumping back into the market, Bitcoin that they sell back because they need to pay bills? So do you think that this bubble is about to pop? If it does pop, how low do you think it'll go before it rebounds again? Because we know it will. And the history of Bitcoin is it gets real high, and then it tanks real low, but it never tanks as far down as it did the last time. So like, let's say it got to 20,000 and it tanks to 3,000. It gets to 40,000, maybe it tanks to what, 5,000-6,000. What's your prediction? Do you think it's going to keep going up a little bit longer, or do you think we're about ready to see a pop? And how low do you think it'll go before it goes back up again?
Well, I think that things are a little bit different this time from what we saw in 2017, because back in 2017, that FOMO of everybody wanting to get in was largely driven by retail and very small investors. And though the prices did run up and we saw a 40 to 50% correction thereafter, and Bitcoin does make parabolic moves like that and then does correct like that. But as far as a bear market, I don't see us really entering into that kind of space again for at least a little while. And the reason I believe that this is the case is because the strength of every correction that has happened, which, I had been expecting huge 20, 30, 40% correction since Bitcoin reached 14,000. And we've still just been running up. And even when we went to 42,500 and set all-time highs, I mean, we were setting all-time highs every day. There's an indicator called the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. And this Fear and Greed Index, when you look it up, it tells you when the conditions in the market are oversold, overextended, overbought. And literally, usually when we reach like a 90 or go over a 90 on the Fear and Greed Index, we have a correction, and we have the market will at least cool off for a little bit, and the prices will trend lower. But what's been happening now is that there's so much institutional money on the sidelines wanting to get in, and because the people that are what are called hodlers, that are holding on for dear life, they're unwilling to sell their Bitcoin no matter what price it goes to. That is creating a limited supply. And so the liquidity of what is available for these institutions to buy, it's not great. And so, they, even though they want the price to dip greater than what it's doing, we're not seeing the large corrections that we had previously. We are getting, 10 to 20% corrections, and then when that happens, you're seeing the rebound happen within minutes, whereas it used to take several days. And so there's a lot of money on the sideline waiting to get into Bitcoin. And there's a lot of people also that sold when on the run up, 14, 15, 17, 20, even all the way up to 30 some thousand, that were wanting to get back into Bitcoin but never got the opportunity. And so now they're realizing that, the prices of Bitcoin may never get back down to below 20,000 or 10,000.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And so they're now having to get in wherever they can, but they are trying to purchase these huge dips. But I am one of those that believes that what we saw previously of a bear market where Bitcoin reached, and retraced some 30 to 40%. I think that we'll probably never get down below 20,000 again.
Wow.
And I may be wrong, but again, I think the dynamics of the market are such that there's too much money on the sidelines. And when we reach another halving, and then there's less coin, less Bitcoins coming out in mining, there's so many institutional players. And if you have been following the market, there's a lot of now millionaires and billionaires that are warming up to the idea of holding 1 to 5%. And now they actually have companies like Gemini, that set by the Winklevoss brothers, that those guys are geniuses. But anyways, and then Grayscale. And if you look at Grayscale, they're talking about how there's huge demand, even through their company, for people wanting to buy crypto, and that they're willing to pay even a premium. And so Grayscale, because they don't know, where to put it, how to hold it as far as wallets and stuff. So they're trusting Grayscale to have the security and the privacy set up so that they're willing to pay a premium of, $1,000 to $2,000 over spot price of Bitcoin, just so they can access the market. And so that is showing to us that there's a huge demand, and that institutional money wants to come into this space. The other thing is that there are now ETFs on the Toronto in Canada, on the stock exchange there. There is now an Ethereum cryptocurrency ETF, which is available and trading on that particular stock exchange. And they're talking about opening the same here in New York and other places. And so once these ETFs are created of a basket of different cryptocurrencies, they have to buy those cryptos and hold them in order to provide these ETFs. And that also is going to increase prices. And what you also see with regard to Bitcoin and Ethereum and these larger projects going up in price is that they are elevating the prices of the market as a whole. And then now there is also, with the whole theme of staking, where people can get paid interest for just holding different cryptocurrencies, that those cryptos that do pay this interest, and those different wallets that, for instance, on Coinbase, you can hold what is called XTZ, which is Tezos, and it will pay you 5% interest just for holding this cryptocurrency. And you can do this in Coinbase. There's another one called Cosmos, Atom, ATOM, that will pay you 6% interest as well. And then there's one other on Coinbase. It's called Algorand, ALGO. And this one only came out, I think it's been available on Coinbase for like a month. And it's still relatively cheap. When I first started recommending it to people, it was 30 cents a coin. And now it's like 55 cents, 60 cents a coin, somewhere around there. But it's still relatively cheap in comparison to the others, because Tezos is now, I think, $3 a coin, and Cosmos just reached like $8 a coin. And this one, Algorand, pays 6% interest, and it's still, pennies on the dollar. And so I think it has a potential to run up to be several dollars like the others that pay these interests. And there are several other cryptos out there that are doing the same thing. But there's a wallet called the Celsius wallet, which I recommend that, anybody that's into crypto gets this wallet, because they will pay you high levels of interest for holding tokens, because they're like a crypto bank they actually lend crypto out to huge institutions, and they get paid, large earning interest. And they've been around for several years. They've been interviewed on CNBC and all these, very legit, as far as money channels that follow financial, as far as these companies that are up and coming, and they pay 13% interest on things like the US dollar coin or Tether, which is USDT, and these other stable coins. They pay 6.2% on Bitcoin. They pay 7% on Ethereum, and they pay every week. Even though these percentages are over the course of a year, they take a snapshot of your holding every Sunday, and then every Monday they pay you in interest for whatever coins and whatever you have in your account balance. And the other great thing about the Celsius network, and there's like crypto.com that does the same, Kraken and others, but they pay you in the coin that you're holding. So if you have $6,000 in Bitcoin, they pay you 6% the following Monday. That's based on over the year, but they pay you that percentage every week, and they will pay you in Bitcoin, so that if the price continues to increase, you will actually be compounding your earned interest. And for people that I have referral, you can have a referral that if they sign up, you get $20 in Bitcoin, and the person that signs up with your referral gets $20 in Bitcoin for signing up. And then they have a promo code, I think it's Web30, that if you send $200 in crypto into your Celsius wallet, you'll get $30 in Bitcoin for free. And so, that's a $50 turnaround just for deciding to use a wallet which will actually pay you interest for holding your crypto with them. And so, why not? Because having it in Coinbase or in your MetaMask wallet, you're not going to make anything. And this is also passive income that you don't have to do anything but let it sit there. One other thing with regard to the Celsius network is that if you are actually holding their token, which is CEL, it's also increasing in value, and you have anywhere below 20% of your full account balance in this particular token, it increases the earned interest rate of all of your cryptocurrencies by 3%. And so it makes it worth it to actually hold this particular token. If you have over 20% of your value in the Celsius token, you get paid a 30% bonus, and you're making that much more interest on all of the tokens that you're holding in this particular wallet. And I like to have different wallets according to the interest that they're paying on different tokens. And if you do that, you can find I hold ZIL, ZIL, which is only like 7 cents a token, but you can put that in the Atomic wallet and it pays 16% interest. There's, just to mention, there's a thing on KuCoin, which is an exchange that allows you to transfer your Ethereum or your Bitcoin into many other different types of cryptocurrency, but they have what is called soft staking or regular staking, and they're actually paying on 2 coins just recently, that one is called MS MAP or WS MAP, and another one called RioFuel, RFUEL. They're paying 50% interest on those coins. And because they've been offering this interest, even the value of those coins has been gaining exponentially. And so you benefit, in two ways for getting involved in projects like this.
Wow, my head is spinning. We got like a minute before we go to break. But, I mean, you just offload a whole bomb. I'm typing as fast as I can, all these different things. I definitely want to have you on again.
I've got it written down, and I can, for people that join our crypto group, I send out an introductory
very good.
That tells people all about these things. So.
And that's the email you've been sending me, the really long emails?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I got to sit down and
it
just
has
sit down
all
and read
that
those.
stuff, yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to our final break, and then we'll come back and talk some more about all this stuff. I'm definitely intrigued. I'm realizing just how much I don't know. Wow, a lot to catch up on.
There's a lot to it, yeah, there is.
All right, we'll talk some more when we come back from the break. And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and we're in the final half-hour segment of the broadcast, and I'm talking with my guest, Zen Garcia. And wow, right before the break, Zen, you just offloaded a whole ton of information, and I was typing as fast as I can, but you said you actually have a newsletter of some sort that will explain all this in a lot more detail and give instructions for people that want to know more. So how would people get on that email list?
They can either contact me directly, zengarcia2010@gmail.com, or just send a message to Justin or Joy at www.sacredwordpublishing.com and tell them that you're interested in the crypto group. And those that do join me, I send out an introductory letter that tells them, the initial platforms they need to sign up for, and give them all, like I told them about the Lolly getting free Bitcoin, the Fold card where you can spin the wheel once a day and get free Bitcoin, using pre-search to get free crypto, the Brave, network, and then I send referral codes out for the different platforms and exchanges that I use, and yeah, just all the basics, and then I do go into some other stuff later, a lot of other information, because there's so many different ways to make money doing crypto. Like there's also called yield farming, providing liquidity, and other things like different, like on the Tron network, there's these websites called Drip, which they pay you 1% a day for your initial investment, and you can compound that 1% or withdraw it every day. And, that's 350%. And even though some of those platforms are high risk, and I don't usually recommend anything that's high risk, there are a couple that I do use that I think are going to be very successful. And so, I do tell people about that as well. And then there's other things, like there's this platform called BetFury that is like a gaming platform that allows you to, play games on the site. But there's a way that you can basically set up automatically playing Keno, Dice, and Plinko, and also a slot machine, to where it runs in the background, and you are I've learned to where you can play all this passively, and you are gaining what are called BFG tokens, the BetFury gaming tokens, and after you accumulate so many, you actually will get a daily payout of crypto. And once you have say 100,000 tokens, you will get paid. It's like $9 a day, and that's if you don't ever do anything more. But I've figured out how to earn these tokens without losing any money. And so that's something that I haven't even talked to other people about, but this is something for people that are, that work on their computers all day, or that are able to set something in the background that just runs and works for you, that over time you accumulate these tokens and you can withdraw passive income. It even has that once you reach like 500,000 tokens or a million tokens, which I've literally in a month have reached 30,000. So it's not hard at all. And once you reach a million tokens, you'll be pulling out like, $30 a day, just in passive income from this website for doing nothing other than having something running in the background. And so those are things as well that, there's a lot of these gaming platforms, and there's people online on YouTube that are teaching you how to set parameters so that you have these games just basically running in the background without paying any attention to them. And they are earning you these tokens so that you can earn this free Bitcoin. Not only Bitcoin, but you get paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, BitTorrent, US dollar Tether, and Sun tokens, and also in Tron. And so there's a basket of currencies, and getting paid every day for that, for doing nothing, is really, really nice as well.
Interesting. So we got about 20 minutes left before the end of the broadcast. Some of this is like way overwhelming even to me. I know a little bit. I don't know a whole lot. There's so much you just dumped on me. I'm like, what? And I'm not a numbers or money guy. My eyes glaze over and I start drooling on myself when I start thinking in terms of this kind of stuff. I'm a creative artist kind of guy.
Yes.
I'm a right brain guy.
Yes, me too.
Left brain stuff, like, wow. So for others out there that might be, well, for anybody, left, right brain, whatever, doesn't matter. If they're brand new to this space, they don't understand any of this. And let's say they have $1,000. And again, neither Zen nor I are financial advisors. We're not licensed in any way to give you any kind of financial advice. I'm just throwing a hypothetical out there, a question. Like, okay, let's say somebody has $1,000 that they're like, okay, I can just keep this in the bank and take the risk of it actually being there tomorrow, because we could run into a situation where we have quote-unquote bank holidays and all kinds of stuff, depending on how things go in the near future here, or the U.S. economy just completely tanking. And a lot of uncertainties certainly involved with the fiat money system.
Right.
And then some would say that crypto is fiat too, because it's just ones and zeros. But I think the difference between that and the printing press fiat currency is that they're actually, the fiat printing press currency that we currently have right now is backed by nothing. There's nothing backing it. We didn't really get into blockchain, and I don't want to take the rest of the show talking about that now because we only got about 20 minutes left, how blockchain works and all that stuff. But crypto is actually based on something. There is each different crypto has their own platform that is based on something of perceived value. And that's how it operates. So there is a something of value that the crypto is tied to. There's a lot more involved in that we have time to get into. Let's go back to the original hypothetical. Got $1,000. What would you do with it? If Zen Garcia had $1,000 sitting in a fiat money bank system, what would you do with $1,000 to increase that in the days ahead?
That's a really great question, and that is actually something that somebody sent to me. And so my reply was, of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but I recommend that people put 40% of that into Bitcoin, 30% into Ethereum, because those are like too big to fail projects, and then the other 30% into speculative projects. And in particular, the ones that I like are DOT, the Polkadot, because the individual that helped create the Ethereum blockchain, he actually left that protocol and is the one that is behind the creation of DOT. And so, and DOT was relatively cheap. When I first started recommending it, it was $4. I even told you about this one
Yeah.
several weeks back, but it was $4.50 a coin, and then just 2 days ago, it ran up to $19.40 a
Wow.
coin. So there's a lot of interest in this project, and already, you could have quadrupled your money, even more, almost a 5x on that particular coin. And this was in 2 weeks' time. And I think that this coin is going to reach, the levels of Ethereum,
Wow.
and Ethereum's at $1,400 a coin right now. And there's a lot of people that are think the same way as I do, and that are speaking about it and being vocal about this particular project. But then the other coins, and so another question that somebody asked me is, if I could only do one project, what would I do? And I told them DOT or Algorand. And the reason I like Algorand is because, like Tezos and like Cosmos, XTZ and ATOM, these coins pay interest, 6% interest just for holding them. And the great thing about this Algorand is that it's not run up in price yet. It's still 50 cent a coin, I think, is where it is right now. And so you can even for $10, you can get 20 coins. It's pretty cheap, and it has a potential of increasing to several dollars a coin over, maybe even this year, and even just paying 6% for holding it, and you can hold it in your Coinbase account. You don't have to have a different wallet.
And you can buy it on Coinbase too?
Yeah, and you can buy it on Coinbase.
So
right now it's called ALGO.
ALGO?
Yep.
And DOT?
ALGO. And DOT you have to buy on KuCoin or another exchange. And, this is something I haven't even talked about, but a lot of exchanges like Binance are closed to American citizens. But you can use a VPN, to show that, like I use it and say that I live in New Zealand, and then you're able to access the platform and to trade and to purchase tokens that you can't find anywhere else. Like one of the ones that I've been recommending as well is called Sushi. And Sushi is like a Uniswap. It's a decentralized platform that allows you to exchange Ethereum for other tokens without having to have KYC, know your customer, or your private details passed on to anybody, or having a fee taken from you for providing that service. And so the decentralized financial platforms like Uniswap, UNI, and Sushi are increasing in usage and also in liquidity, and they pay you, like I provide on Sushi Swap, liquidity for the Ethereum and the Sushi pair, and they allow you that you get paid out in Sushi tokens for having done that. And so that's another thing that people can do, which I'm not going to go into it right now because it's a difficult topic, but that's another way to make money, is providing liquidity on these decentralized exchanges. And there's also another thing called farming, where after you provide liquidity, you get these LP tokens that allow you to then farm for a certain type of cryptocurrency, and you earn high yield, sometimes even 250% on the tokens that you're trying to mine. And so that's a whole nother concept. We'll go into that in a different show because it's a kind of more advanced. But yeah, I do recommend for people just simply Coinbase, the Celsius wallet, or the Crypto.com wallet, and then have access to KuCoin, which is an exchange to where, because it's on KuCoin that you can send your Ethereum or your Bitcoin, and then you can transfer that, trade it for DOT. The Polkadot is the name of the company.
So
But that's
KuCoin,
how you can access that.
how do you spell KuCoin?
KuCoin.
.com?
They're based in South Korea, but they do allow American citizens
Is that .com?
to, .com.
So like Dot and Algo, what do you purchase these with? Do you purchase them with Ethereum, or do you purchase them with the U.S. dollar, or what? Do you have to get a different, like some cryptos you have to get with the crypto?
Yes. As far as Polkadot, you have to use Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Huh.
Those are the only two pairings that they have on KuCoin for gaining access to that. But as far as Algorand, you can purchase that with fiat right there on Coinbase. And
Cool.
you can hold it right there on Coinbase, and it'll pay you. You just have to make sure that you approve earning a reward. And once you click that on, you'll see it activate, and you'll see that every second you're getting paid. And the interest that you're earning is actually that particular cryptocurrency. And so they pay you in that crypto. And as I said, with the Celsius wallet, you have the ability to compound your interest. As the coin goes up in value, so will the interest that you've been paid over time on that crypto. So it's an added benefit.
So essentially, with all these decentralized platforms, this gives the average user out there, the average person, you and me, the ability to effectively be your own Rothschild.
Exactly.
In this banking system.
Right.
The way the elite bankers of the central banking system have been earning money off of us, we are able to essentially do the same type of thing for ourselves.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it puts the power into your hand. So not only can you do like what they were doing, because they're basically using the fiat, I forget the language, but where they're loaning out your money to gain,
like fractional reserve banking and all that.
Fractional reserve lending, exactly. Fractional reserve lending. That's what they've been doing. And so now the power of your money is fully in your hand, and you can stake that, provide liquidity, and lend. You're basically lending it out for others to use, and you're getting paid. That's the same way that the Celsius network on a very large scale gets paid, and that's why they're able to pay you interest just for holding your tokens with them as a company. And so, I mean, even just doing these things, and what makes staking like this so beneficial for you is you don't have to pay the gas prices. Like staking on Ethereum, on Axion or on Wise, where you have to send your token out, or Hex even, you have to send your tokens out to another website. Those gas fees are crazy right now for doing that. And the other great thing about the Celsius network is that if you buy the Cell token and you're sending it from MetaMask to the Celsius network, they reimburse you for all of your gas fees, which is awesome.
Wow.
Because gas fees right now are, they're running $35, $70 a transaction, even for sending just a few $100s in crypto. It's absolutely insane. And so staking on platforms like Celsius, where you don't have to pay the gas fees, or just holding them in Coinbase, you don't ever have to pay those gas fees, and so that doesn't eat into your profits, and it doesn't cost you to send it out or convert it or whatever. You don't have to do any of that. You just hold it and earn your interest.
So to summarize here, we only got 18 minutes in, so we have 7 minutes left or so. 8 minutes. If somebody had, let's say, $1,000 or whatever they have, you recommend 40% into Bitcoin, and again, you don't have to buy an entire Bitcoin. You can get a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Right, fractional.
So you got $100, you got $1,000, whatever you have. Take 40% of that and put it into Bitcoin. Take 30%, put it into Ethereum. This is what Zen Garcia would do. Again, we're not licensed to tell you what to do. Never invest more than you're willing to lose. All that blah blah blah. Disclaimer. All right, 40% into Bitcoin, 30% into Ethereum, 30% to play around with. And
yes,
you would say
and some of those that I recommend are DOT, especially. Maybe put 10% into DOT, and then the other 20% spread it out into a basket of those currencies that are going to pay you interest just for holding them. You know, that might be Algo or Tezos or even like it depends on which platform you use. Like I mentioned, Ryofuel and MS Map or WS Map on KuCoin. Yeah, you can go to Pool X where it says earn on KuCoin once you join them, and it will show you the percentage and the different cryptos that they are paying interest on. Two of those right now are 50%. They're paying that much, and they pay out daily. And so, why not take advantage of that? And so there, on Celsius Network, there's two. One's called Matic, MATIC, another one called Synthetics, SNX, and they are paying 26% interest on these two platforms, on that particular Celsius platform.
Wow.
And so you just have to learn which coins are paying how much interest on which different platform. And, that's what I would do. I would hold some money in those high interest bearing cryptos, and whichever wallet is paying the most at that particular time. Because, it might be that you can only take advantage of holding this particular crypto for 6 months or sometimes even 30 days. But, get it while you can.
So let's say you did this plan, the 40, 30, 30, and you start accumulating more than what you put in. Then, there are different products and services, like we said earlier, that you can get with, at least with Bitcoin. I don't know how much you can get with Ethereum or other. Are you aware of other retail or service-oriented businesses that are taking anything other than Bitcoin?
Well, again, it depends on which country. Here in the United States, a lot of that has not been developed to a great degree. But in places like Portugal, you can go pay for your coffee, pay for your gas, and you can use different cryptos, not just Bitcoin, Ethereum, but others. You can even purchase houses. That's how far along they are in different countries. And it will eventually get to that here. I believe that at some point, people will have crypto wallets that have a number of different cryptos, and probably based on what they are earning for, holding those cryptos in those wallets. And they'll be able to utilize them for every transaction, even going to, eat fast food or whatever. That it'll come to that point where it's so developed that you can use a number of different. It's like paying with your credit card or cash or with coins.
You see, that's what's amazing to me is like, okay, let's say you have a car or a house or something you want to sell. Would you sell it for USD or would you sell it for Bitcoin? It's kind of like now, man, if you had a house, let's say it's worth $200,000, and you say, yeah, I only accept Bitcoin, for payment, and somebody pays you at the current rate of Bitcoin, $36,000-ish dollars or per Bitcoin, and they pay you $200,000 worth for your house. Then next week, Bitcoin shoots up to $45,000. Your house just sold for, you got a whole lot more for your house, I guess what I'm saying,
right,
than you would have if you just sold it for fiat currency.
Right. There are a number of very high-level traders, even, people that are on CNBC, even Michael Saylor and others. Many of them are speaking about and expect that Bitcoin has the potential to rise to $200,000.
Oh, yeah.
Just this year.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan even said that it was
even came out.
Yeah, 136,000 is what they were projecting. And you're saying
that's
this year?
Very conservative.
This year?
Yeah, by the end of this year.
Wow.
And so, that's a 4x, 5x possibly from where we are right now. And so, and again, I think that a lot of these alternative cryptocurrencies, they are going to move a lot faster than
it seems like
even Bitcoin will.
Well, yeah, it seems like the entire market seems to go up with Bitcoin to varying degrees. Some go up faster, some go up slower, but it seems like the more Bitcoin goes up, you can kind of just, if you're looking at a graph, everything just sort of raises and lowers like a tide,
Yes, like a tide, exactly.
Yeah, up and down with whatever, because Bitcoin is the king, it seems like right now.
Yes. And the reason we've seen recently a dip or a sideways movement in the price of Bitcoin, in my opinion, is because the Bitcoin dominance has been going down. And when I say Bitcoin dominance, is that most investors, 70% of all the funds and all the money in the entire cryptocurrency market was in Bitcoin. And we saw that, Bitcoin was charging up in value. But recently, since it reached its all-time high, the dominance of Bitcoin has been going down as people take some profit, and they're moving that profit into these alternative coins, or what are called altcoins.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing is these other coins moving up in value as people expect, this institutional money coming in, that they're expecting, they're not only going to be getting into Bitcoin, but they're going to be dipping into some of these other projects now that, there's these ETFs that are being created.
Gotcha.
To include other currencies.
All right, that's all the time we have for this evening. Wow, that was very informative, Zen. Thank you. We'll have to do a part 3 sometime soon. And in the meantime, tune in tomorrow for our Quest for Truth series on Zen Show on TFR. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you, Zen.
Sounds good. Thank you, brother. Be blessed, all.
Okay, blessings, everybody. See you next time.